4 years, the British monarchy has survived by the mantra of never complain, never explain. But on a chilly evening in late 2025, that centuries-old wall of silence didn't just crack, it was systematically dismantled. When Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, sat down for the BBC's Evening Reflections, she wasn't there to offer the usual royal platitudes or soft-focus anecdotes about charity work. Instead, she delivered a chilling, forensic, and utterly devastating autopsy of Meghan Markle's tenure within the royal family. It was the moment the grey men in suits stepped aside and let a woman who had lived through the storm finally speak the truth. And frankly, it makes every previous royal scandal look like a mere Tea Party disagreement. The interview, which aired in the quiet stretch of January 2026, was no accidental outburst. It was a calculated institutional correction. Sophie didn't speak with the heat of a woman scorned, but with the cool precision of an observer who had spent years documenting the erosion of protocol. She didn't just hint at friction. She reframed the entire Sussex narrative from one of cultural misunderstanding to a disturbing chronology of boundary violations and unsettling ambition. It was a clear signal to the world. The Crown is finished being a punching bag for Californian PR machines. What made Sophie's testimony so haunting for the millions of women watching on their tablets and phones was the description of Meghan's initial welcome. We were told a story of a cold, unwelcoming institution, yet Sophie revealed a reality of private lunches, informal mentoring, and intensive protocol briefings designed to ensure Meghan's success. These efforts weren't just ignored. They were reportedly dismissed with a sense of over-familiarity that sent immediate red flags through the palace corridors. Sophie's account suggests that Meghan didn't arrive to join a family, but to command a stage. Perhaps the most visceral part of the revelation involved Prince William. Sophie described a pattern of behavior that went far beyond American warmth. She spoke of unsolicited physical contact and a persistent attempt by Meghan to bypass hierarchy, often leaving the future king visibly stiffening in discomfort. To our audience, who understands the nuances of personal space and professional boundaries, this doesn't sound like a culture clash. It sounds like a power play. Sophie was clear. This wasn't about a hug. It was about an insistence on being the center of gravity in every room, regardless of the cost to others. The impact of this behavior rippled outward, landing most heavily on Catherine, the Princess of Wales. While the world saw the Fab Four smiling at the Royal Foundation Forum in 2019, Sophie pulled back the curtain on a much darker reality. She confirmed the long-rumored flower girl dress incident, but with a shocking twist that inverted the global narrative. It was Catherine who was left in tears, shaken by a circular and deeply condescending exchange. For a woman like Catherine, who thrives on steadiness and duty, Meghan's presence was described not as a breath of fresh air, but as a source of relentless emotional strain. This wasn't just a clash of personalities. It was a clash of philosophies. Sophie's most cutting remark, "We are not performers, we are stewards," perfectly encapsulates the divide. While Catherine worked in silence to stabilize the institution, Meghan was allegedly engineering the spotlight, directing Harry in public engagements as if he were a supporting actor in a scripted drama. The Duchess of Edinburgh noted that there are couples who work together, and then there are campaigns. The Sussexes, she implied, were very much the latter. The sheer volume of staff departures under Meghan's watch was also finally addressed with institutional weight. Sophie didn't just mention the high turnover. She validated the tears of seasoned aides like Melissa Tuabti and Samantha Cohen. These weren't difficult bosses. These were documented reports of power hoarding and emotional volatility. By revealing that an internal archive of these grievances still exists under the Lord Chamberlain, Sophie issued a subtle but terrifying warning. The receipts are kept, and they are permanent. Then, there were the grandiose beliefs. Sophie touched upon the chilling whispers that Meghan believed her destiny was to be queen, fueled by spiritual advisors and a sense of higher purpose. Most horrifying was the confirmation of the "one plane crash away from the throne" comment, allegedly made during a private dinner. While some might dismiss this as gallows humor, Sophie's level gaze suggested the palace took it as a window into a very dark ambition. It suggests a mindset that viewed the line of succession not as a sacred duty, but as an obstacle to be cleared. As the narrative moved to the Sussexes' exile in California, Sophie's analysis became even more piercing. She described the West Coast Wall, a fortress of LA lawyers and PR gurus, designed to repackage the monarchy into a copyrightable brand. The tragedy, as Sophie sees it, is that they kept the silhouette of royalty while discarding the substance. They traded on proximity to a family they simultaneously branded as toxic, a paradox that Sophie summarized brilliantly. You cannot call the crown archaic and then try to bottle its magic into a serum. The mention of the royal glow trademark filing was, for many, the final straw. It was seen as a blatant attempt to monetize 1,000 years of history for a wellness brand. Sophie pointed out the strategic timing of these releases, often dropping just days before major events for Catherine or King Charles. This wasn't entrepreneurship. It was disruption. It was an attempt to drown out the work of the working royals with the noise of a commercial machine. But the most heartbreaking chapter of Sophie's forensic account wasn't about Meghan's ambition. It was about Harry's unrecognizability. She spoke of a man once known as the heart of the family, now wrapped tightly around a worldview that wasn't his own. The isolation of Harry, the vanishing of childhood friends, the ignored calls to the late Queen, painted a picture of a prince who had lost his compass. Sophie's grief for the spark that Harry used to be was palpable, making his current state seem all the more tragic. Sophie also addressed the moral fracture caused by Harry's memoir, Spare. She described it as a breach of emotional sovereignty, where sacred family spaces, bedrooms, funeral walks, whispered grief, were sold to the highest bidder. To the British public, and especially to the mature audience who values discretion, this was the ultimate betrayal. Some wounds heal, but as Sophie noted, this one opened every scar the family had worked so hard to close. The timing of this interview in early 2026 was no accident. It followed a negotiation attempt by Harry's team to return to partial duties, a proposal the palace rejected outright. Sophie's intervention was the pressure valve, releasing the truth before the Sussex PR machine could spin another tale of rejection. She made it clear, there is no hybrid role. The chapter is not just paused, it is closed. The King's memorandum in December 2025 made that final. Ultimately, Sophie's message was one of continuity over celebrity. She highlighted how Catherine's favorability has soared to 73% precisely because she does not seek the spotlight. She earns her relevance in the silence of service. While the Sussexes' ratings have plummeted into the teens, the Princess of Wales has become the backbone of the modern monarchy. Sophie's interview was a defense of that quiet dignity against the loud, performative culture of the modern influencer. In the end, we are left with a stark choice between two very different worlds. One world views the crown as a costume to be worn for applause and profit, while the other views it as a weight to be carried for generations yet unborn. Sophie's last intervention wasn't just a critique of one woman. It was a manifesto for the survival of the monarchy itself. She has steadied the glass, and for the first time in 5 years, the image reflected is one of absolute, unyielding clarity. The question that now lingers in every British household and across the Commonwealth is no longer what happened, but rather, how did we let it go on for so long? By choosing silence for so many years, the monarchy may have protected itself, but it left its most loyal servants, and the public, in the dark. Sophie has finally turned on the lights, and the royal glow that Meghan Markle tried to trademark looks very different under the cold, hard glare of the truth. As we look toward the future of King William's reign, the legacy of this period will not be the documentaries or the podcasts, but the resilience of those who stayed. Sophie's closing image, hands clasped, gaze unwavering, is the new face of the firm. It is a face that no longer fears the narrative, because it owns the truth. The spotlight has faded on the California dream, and what remains is the heavy, silent, and enduring weight of the crown. This interview has not just ended a gossip cycle. It has re-established the moral architecture of the British state. It serves as a reminder that royalty is not something you do, it is something you are. And if you treat the throne as a stage, the audience will eventually stop clapping. The silence has returned to the palace, but as Sophie so eloquently proved, it is now the silence of the victor, not the victim. What do you think? Should the titles of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex be formally removed to finalize this exile? Or is Sophie right that silence is stronger than sanction?